But I have a bit of a rant here because what the hell, I can. Tomorrow is the general election, as you probably know by now, and it's very, very, very tight. We don't know who's going to win. It really is neck and neck this time. Um, Now, the thing I want to emphasize about this video is not intended to be party political. Obviously, I made the previous video whereby I endorse the Liberal Democrats, um, but this video is not intended to be party political. This video is about a wider issue of the insidious influence of the tabloid press on this country, and in my view, on democracy. I believe they're the single biggest threat to democracy. Now, today I saw the Sun, which has always been a despicable rag, but today they had a big photograph of Ed Miliband, the leader of the Labour Party, possibly our next Prime Minister, eating a bacon sandwich. That's right, eating a bacon sandwich. Now, to my international viewers, you might ask, what's the big deal about this? What's so what's the major issue with that? Well, the answer is there is no issue, actually. The point was that apparently he was photographed eating a bacon sandwich and he looked all uneasy doing it. And this sort of smear campaign has stuck with him ever since that happened. And it was, as far as I know, it was over a year ago. And it's a non-story. Basically, he looks slightly awkward whilst he's eating it. That's it. It's a non-issue. Now, this gutter rag, which has a criminal history, has plastered that over their front page and basically said in 48 hours, do you want this man to be Prime Minister? And they have Nicola Sturgeon in the corner. She's the leader of the Scottish National Party. Um, Now, the Conservative claim that Labour and the SNP will get together is a legitimate point of contention, although Labour has insisted that will not happen. So, just to be clear here, this is not me being partisan towards Labour. In fact, I don't support Labour, and there's a lot of areas I disagree with Labour on. But that headline to me exemplifies just what a gutter rag the Sun really is. This is even lower than in 1992 when they said, will the last person to leave the country please turn the lights off with Neil Kinnock. Now, I'll be honest, Sun can be witty, they know how to sell papers, but when you really think about this has implications for democracy, because when there is a blatant smear campaign against someone, and the thing is, people need to look at the background of this, because not so long ago, that octogenarian gangster, Rupert Murdoch, um, he basically ordered his rags to step up their smear campaign against Ed Miliband. Now, why is this a problem for democracy? It's a problem because it has absolutely nothing to do with policy. It's a personal smear campaign. It's nothing to do with issues with his policy. And I do think this is problematic because the Sun is still Britain's top-selling newspaper. It might be that the Daily Mail may have surpassed it. I'm not sure. Either way, it's a problem. I don't like either of them. I hate the Sun. I hate it. And I hate everything it stands for. Um, to my international viewers, if you're wondering why I said criminal past, not long ago, let's say between 2009 and 2012, the Sun and its sister paper, The News of the World, was involved in a very high-profile scandal in which their journalists were hacking into private phones in order to get stories. This was a huge scandal. It involved paying off police officers, and it resulted in a subsequent parliamentary hearing. And some journalists have been dragged before courts and back and forth, and they've whinged about it. After years of mocking their dissenters and anyone who dares question them, they now have the audacity to play victim. And I think it just shows what pathetic hacks they are. I'm reluctant to even call them journalists. And the thing is, they're not even ashamed of it. There was a background scene, I think it was on Channel 4 News a while back, where Sun journalists gloated about the smear campaign against Ed Miliband. Now, just to be clear, this is not me going out of my way to defend Labour. It's entirely legitimate to question Labour and to question Labour policies. That's legitimate because Ed Miliband wants to be Prime Minister, his party wants to be in government. So I've got no problem with the press asking tough questions about policies. But what I do have a problem with is this personal smear campaign that just is no asset to democracy whatsoever. And what they're blatantly trying to do is turn their readers against Ed Miliband. I hope and urge some readers do not be taken in by this shite. Even if you don't like Labour, fair enough. No one's asking you to vote for Labour. But just don't be taken in by that shite. I don't think that is something important in itself, because it really, really isn't. I guarantee, take David Cameron on a bad day, take him in take a photograph of him, and he might look uneasy or unphotogenic. You can take a photograph of anyone. I mean, I've had a lot of thumbnails on my videos where I thought, whoa, I better not use that one because I look ridiculous. So it's the same principle here. It's a non-story, and it pisses me off that the country's biggest selling newspaper uses that as an issue on the day before the general election. Now, if they were talking about the possibility of a Labour SNP government, okay, that's a valid story. But to have that photograph plastered over the front page shows just how much of a disgrace to journalism the Sun really is. Let's not forget, this is the paper that not so long ago allowed a fascist to have a full page rant about people who are in a desperate situation. A hateful rant that was despicable by any stretch of any decent imagination. If people think I am being biased here towards the political left, I say exactly the same for any smear campaign against David Cameron, and the Daily Mirror sometimes is guilty of that. So I hold the same standards. I think it's wrong in politics. Full stop. I do not like those sort of smear campaigns. Yes, politicians need to be scrutinised on policy. Yes, it's valid to question whether they're capable of being prime minister or not. But that is a smear campaign. It really is. And it really, really angers me that the Sun thinks it's in a position to do that. I am so sick of this little rag playing judge, jury, and executioner and plastering and bombarding its views onto the British public. For goodness sake, people, this election is about the British people. It's not about what David Dinsmore thinks or what Rupert Murdoch thinks. If you don't like Ed Miliband and you don't like his party, that's fine. Don't vote for him. But for goodness sake, don't be taken in by this, because it is not a legitimate point. It really, really isn't. I guarantee you, you can take a photograph of any politician off mark and they would look unphotogenic. It's very easy to do. Take a photograph of anyone off mark and they would look unphotogenic. So it infuriates me that this has been made such a big issue when there are many, many pressing issues in this country. What more can I say? Except that this election is for the British people. It is not for tabloid editors. And I'm sick to death of them basically poisoning our democracy by thrusting their views onto the British public. I'm sick of it. And I do think it's a problem for democracy. So I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I almost want Ed Miliband to win, even though I don't agree with everything in his party, just to do two fingers to the Sun. I want to see them humiliated. I want to see them getting a slap in the face, because I'm sick and tired of their arrogance. Rant over.